Welcome everyone to the Francis Fogel Story Strategist podcast. I am very happy to have here today a new friend of mine, Emma Draper. Emma, I am honoured to have because she was voted Businesswoman of the Year 2023 in Surrey and Sussex. She's an entrepreneur and the owner of an award-winning retail store called Velvet and a property developer as well. She has a business called Velvet Property. And the reason I wanted to have Emma on the show is because I am in the business, not only of running a community for coaches to help them put themselves out there with more confidence, clarity, and joy, which I think Emma does, but I'm also launching a new business to help founders in Surrey, Sussex, London, Kent, and basically an hour from where I live in London to use their own stories in their businesses to do 4 things better. And those 4 things are their marketing and sales, also to help their teams, their employees to feel more engaged, seen, heard, understood, and have a better sense of significance in the business. Also to encourage their customers to be more loyal and to be cheerleaders of the product. And also in terms of their community care. And my big system change that I want to make in doing this work is to help one small organization at a time to punch with or above the big boys, and also to make their mark in the world and do what they can in their local communities. And I heard Emma being interviewed on the Happy Startup School podcast, and her story really spoke to me. She was very clear about what she stood for, and she spoke to all those 4 things with real confidence and clarity. And I wanted to have Emma on here as a business owner in Sussex, talking about why she established the businesses that she has and how her story, which she spoke about so beautifully, underpins the 4 different areas that I think make a really good ethical business today. And I have to say, Emma, that I noticed since listening to that and since asking you to come on the podcast that, of course, your surname is Draper, which must have some clothing roots. So I'd be quite interested to know if it does, because it just fits so beautifully alongside what you do as one of your businesses. And I'm really curious also as to where the term velvet comes from, which I don't think you spoke to in that conversation. So I'm going to let everybody, first of all, learn a little bit more about you. If you'd be so kind as to tell everybody what your story is, if you like. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking me, Francis. Yes, so one of my businesses, Velvet, is 23 years old this week, so it's her birthday. I set Velvet up 23 years ago in North Lane in Brighton, little teeny shop. Because I came down to Brighton then and I didn't like the shops. I wanted a shop that I could enjoy because I didn't like hippie trousers or incense, which is basically what you could buy 23 years ago in North Lane. I left a job in London, which I hated because I didn't like the lack of community. I didn't like the way people treated each other, and that's not me. I'm a people person. So I set this shop up with the help of my mum, thinking we might sell a few things, but I don't care because I've left my horrible job. And it just flew, the first 3 days. We were sold out. We had a queue up the street. It was the most incredible feeling. So I would say the business from there has grown and grown. And at one point we had 4 shops. We had a recession. So the business has been through so many transformations. But I think the key part is I've always loved it. She's my other child, Velvet is. I talk about her like a human because she is ingrained in literally through my, blood through my veins. So where we are now with the store, it's a 2-floor, 3,000 square foot store in Hove, which takes a team of 16 to run it. So it's a great business. It's a very profitable business, but for me, it's so much more than that. Those women I work with, they are, people say, oh, they're my family. They are my family because most of them have been there a long, long time. My management team, um, Gemma's 15 years, Ella's 8 years, Ellen's 9 years. These are my daughters, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to work in a business where I could be with people that I cared about. Obviously, we've had our ups and downs with team, but that was the most important thing to me. And also to be such an institution now. People travel from all over the country to see us. And that hasn't happened overnight. There's been a million dramas along the way. But alongside this, I've done property development since I was a young woman in London when you could. It was really cheap those days. But I've learned so much, and I've always done that through ups and downs, and that's kept me financially okay. When I've being a single parent, that was a bit of a shock 7 years ago to 3 sons. So that's helped me through tough times financially as well. So, and then I do have another business where I invest a little bit of money in various small businesses that I believe in and want to help start now. And that's the thing I've been able to do in later life, because Velvet is the core. She's the one that keeps us all going and keeps my team and their families going. And we love her. That's a very short précis of what I'm all about.
Well, thank you. And I think you've spoken to all the 4 pillars of a good business there in talking about the strong brand that you have and how it's your baby, and also how you look after your people that work for you, how you have attracted such a kind of loyal customer base. People travel from the country, and the work that you do now in your community and supporting smaller businesses that it seems to me you see a bit of yourself in, perhaps back in the day who need the help.
100%.
Yeah, love it. So may I ask, and there may not be any connection, but perhaps on retrospective there is something that you can draw on here, but where did the name Velvet come from?
Honest to God, it was like I just read some marketing bump that you should have a short name, maybe a couple of letters are the same. And I just went through the dictionary and I liked velvet because I liked the idea of it was sort of a luxurious fabric, but affordable, because the key thing about my business is it's all very affordable, Marks and Spencer prices. And I thought, yeah, velvet's not too expensive. It's a nice word. I like it. Well, that was it. It wasn't any more than that. 6 letters. It was just an idea and it stuck. And I'm now called around here Mrs. Velvet. That's what most people call me.
Do you know what? It's so funny because I think so many people land on fantastic business names and concepts and then don't give themselves the credit due for what was probably an unconscious, very clever, creative decision, because you've explained, albeit on retrospect, why it does actually stand very well for what you believe in. And I think that's part of the job at hand for founders, is to try to be known for something that they believe in, and for you, affordability and luxury. Is there anything else that you would add on to the sort of values piece, if you like, about what you think your business represents?
Oh, yes, 100. I've got so many values, but I think the key thing is that I wanted the customer to feel very special, to feel wanted, and to feel part of the business. Because I love retail. I just love retail. Honestly, it's just me. But I used to hate going into shops and not feel welcome. I mean, that's what we do. My team, they know their customers' names, their dogs' names, where they go on holiday, their babies. We're often holding a baby while someone tries something on. You can't get that in the big stores. And for me, it was always about I remember saying to my mum when we first opened, I just want people to walk in the shop and go, "Ooh, this is nice," just to feel part of a thing, a small business. We're not a chain. We're nice people. You know, I've employed my mum still works for me. She's 81. My dad did until we lost him. My sister has. My eldest son has. My middle son is trying. You know, it is 100% a family business. People's sisters come and work for us brothers. That's what I really enjoy, and I think that was my value, because you know you work a lot. I want to go somewhere which makes me happy, and I think that's the core. um Also, we do a lot of work with local charities and organisations, and that helps us all feel like we're putting back into the community as well. So that's a nice thing.
So I think you've kind of answered my next question pretty much already, but the question is, what is a big system change that you'd like to see? And maybe you can talk to it from the viewpoint of somebody who's now been in retail for 23 years and, you know, in the context of the current economic climate, what are your bugbears? What are the things that you would like to see change?
What, within the main high street itself?
Could be, yeah.
I think retailers are just, some of the big retailers are pretty brutal. They don't consider enough where their stock comes from, how it's made. I'm very careful with that with my suppliers. And I don't think they're listening to their customers enough. I think customer service is a dying art. And that upsets me enormously when you go into some stores are great at it. It is more difficult when you've got a huge amount of staff. But I think the heart of the high street needs to come back. I can see sprouts of it popping up here and there, but the heart of the high street is where people come for interaction with other humans. Our policy on the shop floor is, if somebody wants to talk to you, they might be lonely. We talk to them, however long it takes. It's often, you know, I find it might be young mothers or elderly ladies. We have quite a lot of lovely elderly ladies. So they might not talk to anyone else that day. But being a small business, we can talk to them, and that makes me happy.
So you have fallen into retail and fallen into property development.
Yeah.
It has enabled you now to give back to the community, and it's your route to changing the world. Do you see it like that?
Oh, in Church Road, maybe. I don't want to. I think I feel like I have a lot of knowledge, and that is just from 30 years of working in property, 23 in retail. It's knowledge that I now feel. I've been so head down, being a mum, running a business. It's the last year, hitting 50. I think, right, it's my time now to give back what I know and really see. It just dawned on me that I know a lot of stuff just by doing it. And I think that's an important lesson that I can help share, really. And I'm also really proud of what I've done. So I think it's nice. I don't want to get, oh, look at me, I'm great, because that's really cringe. It's also not true. And I think to share the reality is really important as well, because business is hard. I've made a million mistakes. I've had a million bad days. I've not been able to juggle all the time with the kids. I've dropped the balls. You know, it's about being honest, but also about what tricks maybe have got me through. I could share on I think that's my next stage, Frances. Yeah, that's what I'm enjoying.
Okay, thank you. So a number of people that I am most keen to work with may be coming to the work that I can do with them from a number of perspectives. Founders of businesses like yours may well be thinking about leaving, letting go.
Yeah.
And the work around their story is important because they might be keen to leave a legacy across those practices that they feel is particularly personal and allows them to walk away with their, head held high, knowing that they've made a change. And there might be some founders who are not ready to let go yet, but are seeing it increasingly hard to grow a business, that might be interested in growing a business with those 4 practices working more and more in silo. How do you stay in control? There are some that don't want to grow, but really want to remain sustainable at this time. And there are some that might have their marketing and sales sorted, their employees might be happy, they might have really loyal customers, and they now think now is the time to give back. I'm a citizen in this world.
Yes.
I think more and more we're aware of corporate responsibility and sustainability, and it's time to look in that direction. So which of those do you sort of feel is where you're at? I think you've answered it, but would you just say
the last one? The last one, definitely. Over the last, COVID sort of generated me towards that, seeing the strengths of the team. And only 3 weeks ago, my buying and marketing manager has been promoted to MD. So I've made her MD of the business. It was a beautiful moment for her and for me. She's given me everything the last 15 years, and she's running the business on a day-to-day basis now. This is a huge step for me because Velvet is my baby. Like, she is my baby. So we work side by side, but I'm doing my property stuff and maybe more speaking and stuff like that. But the ability to do that is incredible. And it's not something that's happened overnight. It's been a building and building and building, and believing in her and all the experience she's had, and giving her the tools to grow, which is what I've done with the whole management team. And that means I'm at that stage where I can step back from the business and do the things I enjoy. She's got a new link with a big local charity, doing work with them. And that just makes me really happy, but I can't step away from my business because I love her too much. I'm very involved on a daily basis, but maybe only an hour or 2 a day now. But she still gives me the joy. Because there was a crossroads where I thought, is this what I still want to do? For about 5 minutes, Frances, and I thought, no, I love her. I love her. So I can't do that. But my team are better than me. They're quite frankly better than me. They're brilliant. So that's what they're doing. So I think I'm the last one. Definitely.
So can you tell us about that charity that you're now?
Yeah, so it's called Fair Share, and I'm really passionate about working with them. We've already actually Velvet has already paid for 12,000 meals. What they do is incredible. They pick up waste food, so they're ticking lots of boxes. All the supermarkets waste food, or food from factory that's been mislabeled and has to be binned. When I say waste, it's still in date, but they can't sell it, or they've made too much of it. Farmers that have got too many, it was courgettes, it's sweet, in the summer it's sweets this week. So they have an army of vans that go out, pick up all this food, and then it's allocated to 150 charities in Surrey and Sussex. So they may be anything from refuges to food banks to community centres to elderly groups that don't have enough food to keep their groups going. It's just brilliant because they're avoiding food waste and they're giving food to the people that really need it. So it only costs 25p to provide a meal. So we've raised about 4,000 in the last 4 months. So that's 12,000, whatever meals. It's what a lovely feeling that is. So we're going to be doing loads more with them, because it's just getting the food that's going to be thrown away to the people who need it. It should be simple, but it isn't. Obviously, as you can imagine, there's a lot more complications. So we do things like pre-loved rails in the store and various drives to do that, because obviously we are selling fashion, but we want people to think about returning their fashion, and then that money goes 100% all to Fair Share. So it's a really nice initiative.
Okay, so you're speaking to quite a lot there. You're financially contributing and you're raising money, it sounds like.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
you've got this sort of involvement of your customers in that story.
yeah. The customers are on the journey with us. They know that we've committed to getting 50,000 meals delivered, so they know that. We talk to them about it on social.
Okay, so the two businesses, sorry, the store and the corporate responsibility agenda
Yeah,
are very matched, or rather very dovetailing in terms of
yeah,
strategy.
yeah.
How does the story of what you represent with the store reflect in what you're trying to achieve in terms of the charitable work, again, to that kind of bigger picture of change? What are the parallels in that story?
The stories, I think it's about being aware that you're in a wider community. I think we've always talked about business wise. I'm definitely a businesswoman as well. I'm not going to make bones about that. I wanted to make a decent income for me and my family. But the point is I wanted to do it in the right way. And the whole community part of the team that we've built is that it's a wider community with their husbands and children and stuff like that. But that's, I think, the parallel is with working with a local charity where I know various places in Hove who are receiving the food. It feels like it's local, but it just makes me feel it's it makes me feel good as well, and I know it's working, and it gets the team on board as well, and they're thinking about their responsibilities to recycling food waste and people that can't afford their lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So they're my parallels with that.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that rather than, for example, choosing a charity that's around mental health, let's say,
Yeah.
the two different causes that you've got going on, if you like, are putting
Yeah.
on people's backs and food on the table.
Yeah.
And that's, the story through history of basic needs, isn't it?
It's
Essentially,
basic needs.
basic needs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm well aware, Francis, that I sell a lot of very nice things. We sell a huge amount of gifts and Christmas baubles and party outfits and jumpers. You don't really need these things. They bring joy to people, and my shop brings joy to people. The fact that we had a group of women flew down from Scotland the other week and their priority was coming to Velvet. Really nice. So I'm well aware that they're not basic needs. They make us feel nice. We talk a lot about making women feel confident and comfortable in their clothes. We do a lot of personal shopping. Can I breastfeed in this? Can I do this? Can I go to this conference? Can I go to a ball? Whatever. But I'm well aware you don't need the fancy outfit that you might be buying or the jumpers. You don't need maybe 4 of these jumpers, but I like to try and offset it with the work we're doing. But my customers' feedback that we are not a service, but a bit of joy, a
Mm-hmm.
bit of joy and a bit of, they know who they're coming to shop from. They know it comes, they see my family or whatever, they see the girl's family. So they know it's that. So, but I do like to offset it because
Yeah.
it isn't a basic need.
Yeah. In fact, in saying that, you've basically gone one step further with the message, if you like, which is we're not just about basic needs. We put basic needs might drive it in the first, from first impressions, we're about
Yes.
clothes on backs and foods on table, but then the joy that comes from that is what it's really all about. And you've just looping this back to your own personal story, you have shared with us, and you did so to quite a degree in the conversation I heard you on originally, how for you it was a case of, yeah, food on the table and clothes on the back.
It was, yeah. I mean, 7 years ago, my business was fine. It was coasting, but it wasn't thriving. And then quite dramatically, my husband left and I've got 3 young boys. So after like losing my mind for a bit, I realised that I couldn't afford to, divorce is very expensive. I lost some of the properties. I couldn't afford to live in our family home and I didn't want any more drama for the children. So that was a massive kick, a massive incentive, a huge why. And then I basically restructured the entire business with the team. I've got them on board. It was exciting. It was tough. It was relentlessly hard work, but it worked. I mean, the turnover has quadrupled since then. So financially, it's been great. The team are all empowered. They're all paid a lot more money. So it's all worked in those respects. But it did take quite a bit of a drama. Actually, when I think about it, I was unhappy that I wasn't achieving because I've always been quite an ambitious person. And I thought, well, that hasn't really quite come off. You get bogged down maybe in parenting and other stuff and family. So, it was hard work, but I'm glad to say that it still has my ups and downs like any business, because that would not be true if I didn't say that. But I'm proud that that came out of that.
It sounds to me that your politics, if you like, are about making sure that it isn't just about what people basically need, but more that is important, in order that actually you say 4 times that the business has grown 4 times as a result of the joy that was experienced by everyone.
I think we talk to our customers so much and we listen to what they ask for and what they say. Social media is a powerful tool for Velvet as a business. As people know, they just contact us all the time. Can you keep this? Can you save this? Oh, I can't come in this week. Can I have that in a couple of weeks? And as a small business, we can do that. Can't ask Marks and Spencers to do that.
So how do you manage that then from a logistical point of view? I want to ask you, because my new role, my new business is essentially as a kind of non-exec director. So I've been a manager and a leader in businesses, and I've sat on the boards of charities. And what I see, particularly in the charity world, is the how positive, but also sometimes how debilitating bad boards can be. But a good board of advisors and mentors can be really helpful.
Amazing.
And I'm wondering how, who did you have around you? So I've got 2 questions. One is around the sort of, how do you decide where to spend your energy and your time and your budget? And the other question is to do with who's supported you, like who's been guiding you, who's been mentoring you over the years.
Okay. So first question was how do you sort of initiate all these things and how do you spread it out, sort of thing? Is that what you're asking me? The only thing I'd say about that, it's bit by bit, day by day, incremental steps to work out what's needed. I think I come across a lot of young founders that just want it all to happen straight away. That's just not possible. You've got to build it step by step, day by day. And I think I had the approach that if I build this bit, then I can build that bit, then I can build this bit. And then the team on board, we all had, right, this is your project, this is your project, and who wants to do that, and who's good at that. Looking at, that's the key, people's skill sets. Obviously, they're all different in your team or your group. So we looked at that, and I think it was just, once I got to this stage, we could do this, we could do that. You can't do it all at once. I think that was the key aim, and that's what's grown the business. So everyone has their role and their responsibilities, but we all come together to sort of grow it. I think that's how that's worked. I would highly recommend that as an approach to any business. And you just feel like when you get to a certain stage, oh, I've done that bit, do this bit. And that's a sort of very satisfying thing. So the mentor question is quite interesting because I honestly, Francis, I had a big chip on my shoulder about being a single parent and I have to do it, by myself. And I wanted to build wealth and security for the family. So I did it, quite frankly, too much on my own. My mother's a massive inspiration, enormous inspiration. In hindsight, and being part of the happy startup community now, I realized I should have reached out a long time ago. And it would have helped some of the hiccups, some of the mistakes, some of the depressing times. That would have really helped if I'd have reached out. But I was a bit like, I could do this, I could bit, a bit chippy, maybe. So in the last sort of 2 years, when I have reached out more to people and met more business people, it's been amazing. It's been amazing to share some stories, to realize. But that was a long time coming, and I wish I'd done it sooner. So that's what I would always say to people. If you can do that sooner, it would have benefited me, especially when I was going through the big transition. Life lesson.
Well, you've obviously done very well despite. Who did you talk to then when things were tough? Is it your mum, you saying?
My mum, yeah. And I have another friend who's a businesswoman from school. We used to talk a bit, but I just used to, I'd even buy a property and not tell anybody. I just had head down and just doing things. It was quite sort of strange behavior, but I think maybe if you've been hurt or isolated, you do. I have a lot of friends. I just kept my sort of business thing a little bit separate. Wouldn't recommend it.
We can't all be as strong as Emma, and it's it's a curious irony, which is of course that if you're strong enough to become a business founder and an entrepreneur, you probably are relatively able to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Probably are a bigger picture thinker.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's difficult to let go and difficult to know who you should be bringing in, if anyone,
Yeah.
support you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are they any better than you? Is it going to be an additional effort to inform people of your thinking when you could just be getting on with it, which is what I think a lot of people in our position think is, I know the answers, so better just to put my head down.
Just crack on. Yeah, get it done. That was me always. Get it done, get this done, get this done, get this done. But it's not ultimately that healthy, I think, Francis. I think just sharing experiences has been a new thing for me. But also I've probably got more time to do that now. And there's that thing too, parenting 3 younger boys who are now, in their later teens. They don't need me as much. They're living their best life. It's that time that I have got more time. The business is safer and it's doing really well, and it's all in a good chapter. But I know, and I will say this to any business people now, do reach out and talk to other people, because it's amazing what you learn as well.
Yeah, and also just from a networking point of view, I think I've been in the business of corporate responsibility for 20 years. I did both of my undergraduate and postgraduate dissertations around corporate sponsorship.
Wow.
And then, as I say, I've sat on the board of a charity also for 6 years, which was an international development and education charity, and also micro-funded social enterprises in Ghana and India.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what I've learned from being both on the business side and the charity side is that there's this kind of narrative, which is the charity sector is cap in hand to the business sector. The business sector is generously giving out handouts, maybe sitting on board, advising. But what we can learn in the business world from charities is what you're talking about, which is the sort of very healthy approach to not one person making all the decisions.
Oh, yeah.
But having to be accountable to a board, all of whom are responsible for the livelihood of the people involved and for the sustainability of the organization. And sometimes it's a dance for the chief exec of a charity where they don't feel like they're having to just simply report back to a board all the time. but rather getting the most out of the board. And as I say, that can, in a healthy situation, look like an additional bank of people to do fundraising, an additional bank of people with resources and intelligence enough that it informs the strategy. So I am a firm believer that we can support financially and strategically those organizations as businesses that we might feel inclined to, but also we have quite a lot to learn from how they run businesses as well. And I guess part of my big system change is to see the way in which businesses and third sector organizations can actually learn from each other and sort of work
100%.
in tandem. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you.
Oh, good. It's always nice to kind of just make sure that the thoughts in your head are not just random.
Yeah, well, it makes perfect sense. I think, whatever organisation, if you can't learn from other people in the organisation or the board or whoever you're working with, I always think that you never know what you can learn from each other and what collaborations, how they can work until you listen.
Mm-hmm.
So you
So
listen and hear.
on the listening thing, how what do you do to get your people together? Can you give us some, you've talked a little bit about user experience in terms of customer feedback.
Yeah.
What do your kind of team get-togethers look like, and how do you listen to your people?
Okay. Yeah. Well, again, I've learned the hard way, long career in business, how to treat people. I've always treated people really well because I feel that's just common sense. But you make mistakes, you don't always really understand their position. So first of all, I always try and see whatever we're doing from the person's point of view. Put yourself in their shoes. How are they going to react to this, that, and the other? But team building, I've always been so passionate about women, looking after women. We have had men work with us, not at the moment, but that's not a boundary. But right now, it's women supporting women, and the culture that we've generated is from the top to the bottom or across, because we won't stand for any sort of unpleasantness. If there is a thing, we get right into the core of it and see if we can manage the team, because of course there's going to be friction in any team, but they're all working. It's really hard to explain. I think because we spend so much time, and my managers, the sport managers, they all spend so much time and investment in people that it all comes back to us. And we very much be careful about who we choose to be in the team. They have to be warm, open people, because we're customer facing. It's very important. So we do loads of stuff. We do lots of training. We do 3-month chats with each person. What do you like? What do you enjoy? Oh, you like doing that? Let's do more of that with you. So they get much more ownership of their job. We do flexible working hours, especially for the mums. We try and cater for how they're feeling in the job. We also have a lot of fun. We don't take things too seriously. The girls laugh at if they're getting stressed because they care. They care so much about the business because they see what it means to us as a whole family. That they always hear me and they're always going, it's not A&E. It's not A&E. And if you make a mistake, nobody's going to die. We're fine. We'll fix it. It doesn't matter. So they've got a lot more autonomy, ownership. It's very important of their jobs. Feeling valued, which they are, feeling loved is so important. And we go out and have fun too, which is crucial. And they're all good friends, but that doesn't come by accident. It comes if there's any problems, any issues, we go straight in and say, "Hey guys, can we do better?" Nothing swept under the carpet.
Okay.
I think that's crucial.
Thank you. I wonder if you can share with people how much you outsource and how much you keep in-house. Again, you've kind of spoken to this already, but the 4 different practices that I support people with, as I said, again, are marketing and sales, learning and development, team wellbeing. Let me say team engagement as opposed to well-being,
Yeah.
customer retention, and community care or sponsorship or charitable work. Do you or do you not do a lot of outsourcing to other people in those 4 practices?
Right. We do a lot in-house. We do a lot of training in-house, but we do have an organisation that we work with for well-being. If basically pay for the team to call someone privately. It's just that's there. It's completely confidential if they need to share stuff. So that's outsourced. HR is all in, but we have a backup HR so we can find out if we make sure we're doing everything spot on. Marketing, 100% all done in-house. Have a marketing person. Social media, but we will go on courses and we'll learn from people and we'll have advisors, because obviously the marketing world's forever changing. So that's marketing. Team building is done by the managers, and we have regular in-house manager meetings, but we do take advice. So they do have training days. That obviously that's outsourced. What was the other one?
There's customer retention and community care.
Customer retention is all done in-house. But again, we will go on a course or we'll learn something about it. But the team, each person has their own responsibilities for that, because customer retention is key. It's the thing, the absolute thing. So we do that in-house, but we have been on training things to learn how to do it.
Okay. And then I think you've already answered this, but the decisions about what you have invested in terms of your financial investments and time, have also been your internal decision making.
Internal decisions, but I have learnt things. I have been again done training and stuff, and now I have 2 advisors that I work with. Should have done that 5 years ago, but we live and learn. And they're paid advisors, but they're like a mentor, a financial mentor I have, and that's a new thing.
So are they advising you on what finances are available, or are they advising you on the kind of organisations that you might like to be working with in terms of the investments?
More of the first, how I'm sort of controlling the whole thing. It's more of a personal, and a bit of both, maybe a bit of both. But this,
So it's super.
But then I've now got another coach who's just doing me, and I've never done that. I've never really had a bit of business coaching in the past, but I've working with someone who's just doing me. That's exciting.
You enjoying it?
Loving it. It's a bit soul searching. Like, wow. But what's stemming from that, Frances, is really exciting. It's the next step. So that's enjoyable.
Okay. Curious. No, you've just done a really wonderful job of trying of exemplifying the work that I am trying to support. So rather than companies going off in silo, I think where people are not 100% confident about what they might be doing in terms of marketing and branding and sales, learning and development and team support, customer experience and community care, understandably they look out to experts in the field. Sometimes end up paying an absolute fortune. Like to give you an example of the average amount spent on a London-based PR agency across a quite a wide range of businesses. It's you can be looking at anything from 6 to 14 grand a month just to be paying a PR agency to be a couple of days a month, and with the greatest to my friends in PR, often it's you end up having to do quite a lot of the work anyway because it's not who has to speak to journalists, etc. And that's just PR, which is one line of the marketing budget, and then you've got
important.
It is. It's all very important, but for businesses who are yes, maybe they're sort of plateauing a bit or they're not in the early stages of fundraising. Nevertheless, they do not have huge amounts of budget to spend on all 4 practices, and if you are outsourcing to marketing agencies, branding agencies, PR agencies, HR, learning and development coaches, UX agencies, and a sponsorship agency, needless to say, you're spending an absolute fortune.
I think that will hit your bottom line significantly. Yeah.
Right. And that prevents people from doing an excellent job in all 4 areas. And if you outsource, then all those 4 areas are working in silo.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than together.
Working together. Yeah. Yeah, PR is a great example. I worked in PR before in the city and stuff. And what we were paid for what we were doing, quite frankly, was shocking. So, but PR, that stood me in great stead, I have to say, and that's why we do our own, obviously, PR.
Right.
But I think sometimes you need a little bit of help. I've always had a very keen eye on the budget, but sometimes you need to pay for a bit of I think more training to bring it back into house, in-house. I think that's what you're talking about, isn't it, Francis? I think, and also you're all singing from the same song sheet. We've had experiences where a few of us have been on a training course and they've said, "Oh no, you've got to do this, that, and the other," and you think that is not us. That's not our true voice. We're much more bubbly and lively than that, or we're much more excited about our business than that. So I think it's tailoring it as well is really important. But
right.
Yeah, bring it in house if possible.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And the reason I'm going into what I'm going into now is because, and it never made sense. It never made sense at the time, but on retrospect, the 20 years of experience that I have means that, as my friend Amy and I like to say, I'm a rainbow person. So I'm a little bit good at a lot of things, including
Francis.
Pardon?
Useful.
Yeah.
You're a rainbow person. Yeah.
I've never so I ran the marketing department of the world's only art-led insurance company for 7 years, for example.
Oh, wow.
And what that meant was at the age of 24, because we had a alcoholic chief exec who was so busy in his own little world that he forgot to replace my manager when she went off to have babies. And so I was catapulted into this role of,
wow,
responsibility at a young age. And I was responsible for a budget that was to be spent on external and internal comms, B2B and B2C marketing, PR, sponsorship, events, and just all of the marketing things.
Yeah.
And that was great because it was a baptism of fire, but I couldn't, I wasn't working in any of the external agencies that we did or didn't use, and so had to become a bit of a jack of all trades. And so, for example, I have the basics, but they're probably more than just basics of how to do PR. And I think for some people, for example, a knowledge bomb that you or I might be able to share, which is what you want to have is a press pack. You want to have bio, you want to have a example press release, you want to have your FAQs, just that sort of, oh right, that's what you need to have. Okay. And then how do you touch with journalists? How do they like to be communicated with?
Yeah.
This is the gold dust that isn't that hard to impart, but is worth so much internally to then be able to work, right?
Exactly. And then if you've got people in your business that want to grow, that's how you can help them grow, because you can give them new skills, and that's a really empowering thing.
Absolutely. And then teach them how to become the spokespeople in working that alongside your L&D, alongside your I've just come off a retreat actually that I ran with a friend from the Happy Startup School, Matt Matheson, who's the speaking coach.
Oh yeah.
It was all about public speaking or just speaking up, basically. But of course, so many birds can be killed with one stone, if you like, because confidence can be boosted, and at the same time people become spokespeople for the company, which
business
speaks to the PR line. So I think one of the things I'm trying to say is that, well, two things. One is you can spend a lot less and say a lot more.
You certainly can, especially in this day and age.
Yes. And also you're sitting on a gold mine already with your stories. And I don't think people quite understand that the linchpin across the 4 different practices is a thing that they already have. It's not something that's going to even need to be paid for in training. It's just something that needs to be identified, right?
Yeah, you've got a great point here. I really like your 4 key points. They're the essential thing of the businesses, aren't they? And I think you're right about the story, because business owners have got a story because they've got there somehow. They haven't taken the easy route. They've developed their business somehow, and there's the story there. And people love stories, don't they?
They do. And I just want to dispel a myth also that it might necessarily be a sort of linear heritage-based story. It could be a story about values, or a story about experiences, or a story about intergenerational trauma, or a story about a property you've inherited. It might be that your shop, for all we know, is on a converted prison. It isn't, right? But people can capitalize on a thing and it can become their, and then that story can loop everything together, and there is a degree of creativity around it. So I just want to make people aware that I'm not necessarily talking about I inherited this from this and then I was this is all about me. What is the story that you want people to know, and how does it connect with everything else that you are doing? And we haven't even had time, and I'm mindful of time now, to sort of make those creative links with the property business. But I dare say that, maybe again on an unconscious level, your choices about where you have bought property and what you've done with it, probably
what them. But it's also customer led again, because I like to think I'm the nicest landlady in Brighton and Hove, because again I treat my tenants like my best customers, because it's not easy always renting, is it? And then things go wrong, and I just make sure that I answer their calls immediately and make sure things are looked after within reason. Things are looked after them maybe the same day, and they feel they're my customers. And I'd like to, landlords, landladies, whatever we are, have a bad rep. Most of the people I know through property are actually really decent people, but it has a bit of a bad rep, and I like to bust that right out, because it's about they're my customers and I want them to be safe and well and looked after.
Okay, so yes, there is a link, and I think it's wonderful that you're talking again about the 3 basic things, not just the clothing on the back and the food on the table, but the having a roof over your head.
Yeah,
right?
So exactly.
Different things. These are the basic core needs of survival, and then you're sprinkling joy at every single basic level of survival. And identifying story is to be able to say, the 3 things I do, the property, the clothing business, the community work, it's about basic needs, but plus basic needs plus, and that's what we're all
about. We all need a little bit of joy, don't we?
That's right. Especially. And I think we've also spoken to the feminine quality that also laces all those 3 practices together. And there's a story for you about busting myths and turning what has previously perhaps been seen as a negative, the female involvement in property, the female involvement, I don't know really where I'm going with this, but there's something about using the feminine again to kind of make big system change, basically.
100%. I think women are amazing because we have this sort of caring attitude to work as well. There's 2 prongs. I am a businesswoman. I want to make money, but I also want to care about who I'm doing it with and the wider community. And why can't you do both? You can. And I think women have this amazing capacity for caring. There has to be, some sort of business line sometimes, but it's a wonderful thing we have. Not think it's just women.
Not to mention the ability to multitask, which I think you have very much shown us is possible.
I can do that, yes.
Cool. So this conversation, we could have another one another time. I'd love to, for example, talk to you about the parallels between being a mother and being an entrepreneur, but we'll have to talk about that another time.
Yeah.
It's been such an absolute pleasure, and thank you for helping me to show my listeners in real life what it is that I'm imagining could be better by doing it already yourself. And I
think you've got amazing ideas here, Frances. I think you're going to be really helping.
Oh, thank you so much.
Founders. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
Pleasure. Thank you.
And yeah, we'll be in touch. And thank you everybody for listening. And if you want to find out more about Emma, you can find her on LinkedIn. She's got a huge amount of followers already on her Instagram account, which is absolutely delightful. It's called Velvet Hove, 21,000 followers. So do follow her on Instagram, and she's very much available, as she has shown today, for lovely conversation. So thank you, Emma.
I've had a lovely time. Thank you, Frances.